And here we are again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Patrick Cadigan. I am joined by my co-host, Megan Smallwood, and you are here for post-secondary transition or P2 transition, our next episode.
All right, we're back. We're ready for part two.
I think we're ready for part two. So, for those who have joined us before, this is going to be part two of an interview that we did with a family.
Mm-hmm.
We were really, really excited to get them to sit down with us and discuss their journey up until this point. And it's actually a journey that they're in the middle of it.
They're still in it.
They are still in it. So we're going to continue to have that discussion with them, and I am really looking forward to talking with them some more. I don't know, Megan, what do we normally do when we first start out the podcast?
I think we need to explain what we're here for and specifically more what post-secondary transition is.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea. So when we talk about post-secondary transition, that focuses between the ages of 14 through 21. We want to help answer the questions for parents. What do I want for my child after they leave school? We're asking parents to think long-term, right? We're thinking milestones, the research that they're doing, the resources that they found, goals that they want to set.
Right. And how can we define long-term? I mean, basically, what do you want your child to be doing after that school bus stops coming? Which can be different for everybody. It's a completely individualized experience. But along with that individuality can come loneliness, and in some cases, a sense of isolation. So we want you to know there are other families who are going through this probably at the same time you are.
Yeah.
You can relate.
Yeah, and along that journey, focusing on those milestones, some of them are built around time frames. And in other cases, those time frames help determine what milestones, the milestones that your child is reaching. So using school experiences to help with doing the research, using the resources at your disposal, including the school transition specialist and other teachers. And admittedly, it's a lot of information. As we're sitting here recording this, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, there's just so much going on in my head. But there is going to be give and take, and there will be things that you do that won't have the desired outcome, but that is okay. Again, it's a journey, and it's going to be different for everybody. So trying to do it all at once can feel consuming. So we're hoping to clear away with some of that fog.
Right.
So with that, we're going to go ahead and reintroduce the Nirschls, the family that we're going to be interviewing for part two. And without
further ado, so I was going to ask, now that Rich is 20 and this is the year for exit, can you tell us a little bit what you've been doing to prepare for that?
Just last year, we went to visit with you the different day programs. And since he was last year, Nick and I really started talking about, okay, what do we want for him? What do we see him doing? Do we want to choose the self-direction route or the traditional day program route? And that was a discussion we had. I think the pandemic helped answer that question for us too, because since the pandemic, there's a lot of day programs that have been virtual. He doesn't like virtual. He hated the whole virtual
yes, we
thing.
learned that.
And so, and there's also staffing issues currently. So I think we've made a decision to go to the self-direction route for him. And so the planning, we both have been researching, like, okay, what is out there in the community that he can participate in? At the level he's in right now, he would just be doing volunteer work because he still has a lot more way to go in terms of life skill. And so prior to that, before the pandemic, we had Richie doing volunteer work once a week at a really nice, like it's sort of like a day spa cafe. And the owner was really nice, and she let us bring our son, and he would clean the tables, clean the rooms. So he had the capacity to do that. So we want him to be involved in the community. And so we're looking for more resources like that where he can participate in.
Did you go out and make that connection with the spa?
Well, to Nourishing Journey, the place where I used to work, and the owner, her name is Jennifer Palmer. Jennifer has been a friend of mine and has given me lots of resources over the years of how to help my son. Mm-hmm. And she's a traditional naturopath. And so, you know, she was someone I went to for help with my son. And so it was natural. I would go to her and ask, oh, well, can he, you know, just do some volunteer work? And she said, sure.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Being able to use the resources that you have and people that you know in the community.
And that's something we'd like for him to do, as well as continue receiving some therapy to improve his life skills. And so we're still in the process of trying to determine what his day would look like, but we have a general idea of what that is. So volunteer work, continue with some therapy, and
yeah. I mean, if things work out, it'd be good for him to go to a day program part-time. That's always tricky because a lot of them don't do the part-time.
Yeah,
so we're still working on that.
Yeah, we'll see where this year will take us.
Yep, we will go explore again. So I wanted to jump back. You had mentioned about considering self-direction for Rich after exit. Do you mind explaining a little bit about what self-direction is?
My understanding of self-direction is that there's always that I have to do a comparison to the traditional. The traditional is where the agency that you choose makes all the decision regarding what kind of his day would look like as he enters into the day program. So they do the setup, and they will, whatever lessons or outings, they make the decision, versus self-direction, where the caregiver parents with our son create the day for him, what his day would look like. The parents, caregiver with my son Richie, we make that determination so that he has more flexibility and really what he wants to do.
Right. And so when you go with an agency, they tend to say, okay, this is the day program he's going to. So he's going to go to that one day program and he's going to be full-time at that day program. Whereas with self-direction, you can kind of say, well, he will do some days at this day program, and then he'll do some days where you can maybe have him go to the gym or do other things, the other activities, or volunteer for places. So there's a little more flexibility, but at the same time, you have to hire people so that there's going to be somebody who's going to manage the money. I forget what that's called. And there's going to be somebody who maybe works with him as a one-on-one that works with him. And so the parent is then going to be responsible for hiring all those people. So there's more responsibility on the parents, but you have more flexibility.
And I know a lot of parents, it's nice. So if, for example, your son is sleepier in the morning and can't get up, you can plan his day to start in the afternoon. So it works better for those who need that flexibility. Or if they wake up and they're not having a great day, you don't have to constantly call up an agency to say he can't come in today. You just take it as it comes. So there's definitely pros and cons, and it's individualized.
There's a parent, her name is Beth Benavides, who helped me really think through this, because I was debating, well, maybe the traditional route would be better versus the self-direction, because I'm overwhelmed, I'm tired, but then she helped me focus, well, you know, what do you have to focus on your son and what he wants. And to be honest, while I'm watching him through the summer and all last year, it was hard for him. It's hard for him to go to school now and wake up so early in the morning. And is this what he's going to do for the rest of his life? Go to
Right.
a school-like setting. If you are a neurotypical child, that's not, I don't know anybody who would want to go to school for the rest of their life. In terms of flexibility, parents, people want flexibility, right? They want to have choices. And that is something my son has to have. He wants a choice, even though he's nonverbal. He's making it known to me through other means of what he wants.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I could tell, and I'm willing to do that. We're willing to do that, to set it up for him.
Throughout this whole process, I'm sure that there has been a lot of research that has been involved. How do you determine what is a useful resource versus not useful?
That's a good question. I'm still sifting that, what is good and what's not good. And research is the computer and Google and Megan and parents. And that's a good question. I mean, that's a really good question. What is
Good resource.
good resources versus
less useful?
Yeah, less useful. So it's a matter of, first of all, taking deep breath, learning, acknowledging your anxiety. You have to deal with your feelings, because the feelings that you have will block you from really seeing the information, or reading the information. And I had to just kind of step aside and do some gardening or listen to music instead of staring at the computer and reading everything, because my mind was just becoming jumbled. It was hard for me. And I love to do research, right? I love to do that. But because it's my son, the emotions of that was getting in the way. I had to step back and do what I need to do to take care of myself, and then go back into the research, connecting with the families, other families, with the Autism Society, with you, Megan, with looking at the DA website, putting it all together. And then I can see more clearly what is a useful information. And that really depends on the individual. I can't tell a person what's useful to them and what's useful to me. I mean, I think the key to that question of what's useful is, first you have to know where you are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually before you could even read the information what's in front of you. And
I've always wondered too, with parents, when you are doing the research, what do you find the most useful in terms of like the format of the information? Because there's so many, pages you could just scroll. Do you like when it's broken down like bullets? Do you like having a visual timeline? Do you prefer like, here's a link, click on that, here's another, click on that? I mean, I'm just always wondered, what's the easiest way for parents to be able to digest it? As I help with some of the resources, I always wonder, is it helpful to have it?
You have if there's a question, what is the process?
Question and answer.
Question and answer, exactly.
Question and answer.
Yeah. How do you go through SSI?
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the steps to do it.
And what does this mean? And who is this? And okay.
Also, I found a page in the DDA with acronyms, because there's so many acronyms out there that being tossed out that they know, but parents like us don't know. What do you mean FMS? What do you mean by
SSI?
What do you mean by toss it out like water? And I'm like, I stumbled into that one. Nobody told me about it. I just stumbled. Oh, here it is. That's a good one.
In the process, as you guys have gone through it, was there anything that was less difficult to do than you actually thought it might be?
Sounds like SSI was.
Yeah,
right.
That was a surprise to us. Yeah, that one was. And we also went through guardianship.
Right.
The thought of guardianship was overwhelming and scary. But when we planned out what are the steps we need to do, okay, this is what I need to do, implement, and then execute.
Yeah.
When you talk about guardianship, what do you mean?
So when a child becomes an adult at the age of 18, in theory, they are now
An adult.
the decision maker, and their parents can't do things for them without them giving approval. And so for our child in particular, he's not capable of making those decisions. And so certain children with disabilities might have that issue. Guardianship is just a legal process where the court says, yes, the child is not capable of making those decisions. And so somebody, it could be a parent or it could be somebody else, is the guardian of that individual and is basically the person who signs off on decisions, medical decisions, and other things.
So for some parents, this may not be an obvious route because your child may be higher functioning, and it's a decision that they have to make, whether if this is something that they will go through, because you don't have to go through it. But
Right.
for our son, it was obvious that he
Right.
had to go through legal guardianship. So
Right, and I can imagine that there's like some line where kids probably fall, like they can make decisions in certain cases, but in other cases they can't, and so it's a more difficult decision to make. As we said, in our case, it was pretty obvious that he was going to need that.
Yeah, it's a very individualized decision. And there's other alternatives to guardianship too, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a different podcast. But yep.
As we've navigated through this conversation, I've heard you guys talk about several things that would be helpful for other parents. Is there one thing that you're thinking about now that you just kind of look back and say, oh man, I wish I knew that? Or a particular resource?
Yeah, I'm not sure that we have that.
I think what I've heard is starting early is key and doing the research, because I know you both have put the work in since he was 14 and, been going to the sessions and having meetings, and you're really dedicated to the vision you want for Rich and what he would be happiest doing. So
and
I think
we're in the midst of the
Right.
process. So probably that question, it would be good
Next year.
Next year. I would say to the parents whose children are in the school system, reach out to your transitional coordinator like Megan. She is my son's transitional coordinator, and I'm really grateful because, you have been so helpful. I said, oh, can I email you over the summer? Sure. And I made sure that I didn't because I needed to give you a break.
Yeah, and a lot of it is like you run into certain people who are really helpful, and then you stick with them. And some people are less responsive than others, and so you just have to find the right people. And
I find it that people are generally helpful. I think Richie's been blessed to have been with the teachers he's had and the people he's connected with. He's just pretty much kind of led us to finding really good resources. I don't know, something about my son. It's just
yeah, it's funny because he has that personality. Like when he's in distress, it's really difficult to deal with. But when he's happy, he tends to attract people who want to help because he's just got that personality that.
Yeah.
And I say to parents, people generally do want to help. I think sometimes our anxiety sometimes gets in the way of seeing that, but there are people that are out there that are willing to help parents like us. I found that to be true. So,
well, I think that is a very positive note to end on.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Megan, that was really cool. I was really glad that we could. I was glad we could talk with them. Well, thank you to the Nirschls one more time for sitting down with us, taking time out of their day to talk with us about their experiences, and we're going to do more. We already have a list of people that we'd really like to talk to and who are going to tell us about their experiences. But we're at the end of our episode, man. We made it again.
Yeah.
Good deal. So, Please like and follow our podcast. Tell other families about us. And we also value feedback. We've already gotten feedback from some of our listeners. We've really appreciated that. We plan on introducing that into further episodes as we go along. But we are very thankful. And again, we are looking forward to the next episode, and we will talk to you soon. Megan, you want to sign us off?
All right. Thanks for stopping by. We hope to see you back here.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.